The VIasat payload deploying shortly is now the largest all-electric satellite ever to be launched. And deployment is coming up in just around 40 seconds or so. You can see in the telemetry in the bottom right corner of the screen, we are now very high above the surface of the Earth, about 34,000 kilometers.
VIasat-3 separation confirmed.
And there you saw and heard the confirmation of successful deployment of VIasat-3 from our second stage. Next up on the docket, we have the deployment of Gravity's Gravity Space 1, which is scheduled around the T+4 hour and 40-minute mark. So we'll see you back here in about 6 minutes for that deployment.
again. If you're just joining us, we had an on-time liftoff at 8:26 p.m. Eastern Time from Kennedy Space Center's Launch Complex 39A. We've had 3 successful burns of our second stage and successful deployment of the VIasat-3 payload, and we're now coming up on the deployment of the Gravity Space 1 payload. Gravity Space 1 is a 16U CubeSat and the first commercial CubeSat in geosynchronous orbit. It will be used for Internet of Things, a rendezvous and docking experiment, and orbital slot reservations. And that deployment is coming up here in just about 15 seconds or so. What you're seeing on your screen is a view from the second stage looking forward. So we should be able to see the payload deploy here shortly.
Gravity space separation confirmed.
And there it was. You just saw the Gravity Space 1 spacecraft drift away from Falcon 9's second stage. So next up will be the final milestone of today's mission, the deployment of Astranis' first MicroGEO satellite, which is scheduled for the T+4 hour and 46-minute mark. We'll see you back here in about 6 minutes.
Welcome back once again to our coverage of the VIasat-3 Americas mission. We've had a nominal mission so far, and we're coming up on the last milestone for today's mission, which is the deployment of Astranis' first MicroGEO satellite. In partnership with Astranis' Alaska customer, Pacific Dataport, their first MicroGEO satellite is going to cover Alaska, and it will be the first satellite ever dedicated to a single U.S. state. In addition to this payload, Astranis is launching 4 additional satellites later this year with SpaceX on a dedicated Falcon 9 mission, so stay tuned for that. Deployment should be coming up here in just about 30 seconds or so.
Astranis separation confirmed.
And there you saw and heard confirmation of successful deployment of the MicroGEO payload from our second stage. With confirmation of successful deployment of our last payload on board the second stage, that will wrap up our coverage for the VIasat-3 Americas mission. We'd like to thank Viasat for entrusting us with today's mission. We'd also like to thank the range and the FAA for licensing today's launch. And of course, we'd like to thank all of our viewers for tuning in. If you're interested in more launch content, head over to our website and social media platforms for updates on our next missions and milestones. Hope you all enjoy the week, and we will see you soon.